Morbid Facts, Part 697. Conan O'Brien's world was rocked in 2024 when both of his parents, married for 66 years, died just 3 days apart. His father passed at 95, followed shortly by his mother at 92, leaving Conan to plan 2 funerals back-to-back before rushing overseas to continue filming Conan O'Brien Must Go. Still reeling from the loss, he was then forced to evacuate Los Angeles due to the raging wildfires. Conan later admitted he spent that entire period in a fugue state, emotionally numb and running on autopilot even as he hosted the Oscars. Tasmanian tiger was hunted to extinction after being falsely blamed for killing sheep, despite having jaws far too weak to take down large prey. The last known thylacine Benjamin froze to death while in captivity in 1936, just 2 months after the species finally gained legal protection. Croatian nurse Hedviga Golic died alone in her apartment in 1966 and was left undiscovered for 42 years. Her mummified remains were finally found in 2008 during renovations, after decades of neighbors assuming she'd simply moved away. Her electricity bills were quietly paid by the building's architect until shortly before her body was found. Morbid Facts, Part 132. When Teddy Roosevelt was 25, his wife and his mother both died on Valentine's Day just hours apart from each other. For his diary entry that day, he drew a large black X and wrote, "The light has gone out of my life." When some whales get old, they no longer have the strength to swim for long distances. So if they swim too deep, they might not have enough strength to reach the surface for air and eventually suffocate to death. Throughout your life, you're more likely to meet a future murderer than you are to have a lasting marriage. In 2010, a homeless man named Hugo saved a woman from a knife attack in New York City. He was stabbed while trying to help, but still chased the attacker before collapsing from his wounds. Security cams captured more than 20 people walking past and staring at him, but no one offered to help. He was found dead on the sidewalk more than an hour later. Morbid Facts, Part 135. George Washington died when his doctors were trying to cure his sore throat. They were using a process called bloodletting, which involved draining a patient's blood until their illness was cured. He lost nearly half his blood before they stopped the treatment, and he died just a few hours later. According to the FBI, if you're murdered in the US, there's only about a 40% chance that your murderer will be found and punished. When penguins can't find love, they often waddle off to die alone. An Iranian man named Amu Haji is known as the world's dirtiest man. The 80-year-old man hasn't showered in 65 years and claims that cleanliness makes man sick. He has survived off of eating rotten animal carcasses and smokes feces out of a pipe. He also lives in complete isolation, and yes, ladies, he's single. Morbid Facts, Part 9. Jake Thompson was home alone when he had both of his arms ripped off in a farming accident. However, he still managed to get up and dial 911 with a pencil in his mouth. He miraculously survived and both of his arms were reattached. For centuries, there was a paint pigment called mummy brown that was made out of the ground-up remains of ancient Egyptian mummies. The color was manufactured until 1964, when the supply of ancient mummies was finally expended. This is a photo of 2 engineers embracing for one final hug while standing on top of a wind turbine engulfed in flames. One of the men jumped to escape the fire, while the other one was burned alive while attempting to reach the staircase. Morbid Facts, Part 136. In 2010, the body of Argentinian model Joana Casas was found just before her 20th birthday. She had been shot twice in the head and was left in a field. Her former boyfriend was soon convicted of the murder and sentenced to 13 years in prison. 3 years later, while still in prison, the man ended up falling in love with Joanna's twin sister Edith. Despite her parents intervening, Edith went on to marry her twin sister's murderer. In 2008, a Kansas man named Corey McFerrin called 911 claiming there was something wrong with his girlfriend. When authorities arrived, they were horrified to find that his 35-year-old girlfriend had been sitting on the toilet for at least 2 years. Her skin had grown around the toilet seat and had to be surgically removed at the hospital. Her boyfriend claimed that because of her troubled childhood, she felt safe in the bathroom and never left. Morbid Facts, Part 134. Frank Sinatra died on May 14, 1998, the same night as the series finale of Seinfeld. His ambulance made it to the hospital in record time due to there being no traffic since everyone was home watching the show. About 1 in 50 people is walking around with a brain aneurysm that just hasn't ruptured yet. This means there's a chance you can instantly die from a headache without any prior symptoms. The astronauts on the Challenger most likely didn't die immediately from the explosion. They spent the last 3 minutes of their lives plummeting to Earth at 200 miles an hour. In 2015, the Department of Homeland Security conducted a test on the TSA at dozens of airports. A group of agents posing as passengers snuck various weapons through airport security. The TSA ended up failing to detect 95% of the weapons that went through the scanning system. Morbid Facts, Part 137. When a 20-year-old Rod Serling was serving in World War II, he watched as his best friend was killed by a falling crate of food. Realizing the irony and unpredictability of life and death, this experience would later inspire him to create the Twilight Zone. Male chicks are considered to be virtually useless to the egg industry, so they're either suffocated in large garbage bags or are shoveled into a high-speed grinder to be torn apart. Kissing a baby on the ear can make it go deaf due to a condition known as cochlear ear kiss injury. Indonesian villager Akbar Salubira went missing in 2017 after setting off for harvest. His remains were found 2 days later inside the body of a reticulated python. It was the first confirmed case of a snake swallowing a fully grown adult human being. Morbid Facts, Part 12. At age 25, a woman named Blanche Monnier had her heart set on marrying a lawyer that her mother wasn't too fond of. When she disappeared one day, most assumed that she had simply run off with him. But 25 years later, someone sent local authorities an anonymous letter saying her mother was holding her hostage. When they arrived at the home, they found Blanche bound and starving in the attic. Dying is forbidden in the town of Longyearbyen, Norway, or at least, you won't be buried there. The town's only cemetery closed over 70 years ago because it's so cold that the bodies buried there previously never decomposed. The problem is that some corpses still carry traces of the Spanish flu virus that killed up to 50 million people worldwide around 100 years ago. Morbid Facts, Part 138. In 1984, comedian Tommy Cooper died of a heart attack while performing live on stage. Thinking it was all part of the show, the audience continued to laugh and clap as the man was gasping for air. In 1300 BC, Egyptian King Meneptah defeated the Libyans in battle. To prove of his triumph, he brought back 6,000 tan bananas that he cut off of opposing soldiers. When a very tall man dies and can't afford a custom coffin, the undertaker will often chop off his feet and place them beside his legs. The family doesn't notice because only the top half of the coffin is open during the funeral. In 2015, a woman claimed that she could smell Parkinson's disease. To test this, doctors gave her 12 shirts to smell and 6 of them were from Parkinson's patients. She correctly identified the 6 shirts but also chose one from the control group. 8 months later, that person was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Morbid Facts, Part 139. Author of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, is said to have lost her virginity on top of her mother's grave. She also kept her dead husband's heart and carried it around for 30 years until her death in 1851. In North Korea, viewing or selling porn is strictly forbidden and is said to be punishable by death. If you win the lottery, you're about 20 times more likely to be murdered than the average person. In 2016, a seemingly abandoned yacht drifted towards some fishermen off the coast of the Philippines. But when they boarded the ship, they found the mummified remains of a German man who had been missing for 7 years. To this day, the man's cause of death remains a mystery. Morbid Facts, Part 140. In 2009, actor Dean Winters suffered from a bacterial infection and died in the ambulance but was revived. After recovering, he developed gangrene and had multiple amputations and skin grafts. He is now better known for playing Mayhem in Allstate insurance commercials. Janis Joplin changed her will just 2 days before dying at the age of 27. She gave her estate to her parents and gave additional cash to her siblings. She even set aside $2,500 for her friends to throw a party in her honor and to, quote, get blasted after I'm gone. Cat burning was a form of entertainment in France prior to the 1800s. People would gather cats in a net and burn them over a bonfire while they laughed and cheered. This was done mainly because cats were associated with witchcraft and were burned as symbols of the devil.